This week, we're talking all about journals, and this is the last in this series of videos. I'm only going to share one activity this week because it's multi-step and it has a lot of layers to it, and it's it's not as simple as just writing a journal entry. It's going to require a little bit of preparation, but I hope that you enjoy it. So, one of the things we do when we are advanced level or C level speakers of a language is that we can argue, we can persuade, right? And we can do that at the paragraph and connected paragraph level. So, you have to be able to develop that, obviously. And it can be really intimidating. You have thoughts, you have ideas, you've got opinions, and you got to have the language to back it up. So even if you are, this isn't a, like a sort of a conversation, a disagreement that you get in somebody, or a difference of opinion, or that kind of thing. It's This activity can really help you practice the kind of language that you need to be able to argue and persuade, to be an advanced level speaker. And you can do it completely on your own, which makes it doable. You don't have to wait until you have a difference of opinion with somebody to be able to do this activity. So I wanted to share a personal story, something from my life and really my professional life, which I'm sharing with you here right now. So I've always taught languages as an adult, and I loved languages. I majored in languages as well as theater arts in for my undergraduate in college, and I got a master's degree in the teaching of languages. That's all I've ever really done since I was really out of college. So I don't have a whole lot of experience in anything else. And as a young teacher, I was still working on these really advanced level skills in Spanish. And, I didn't even quite know what that meant. And one of the things that we do when we teach languages is we do this, right? At certain level courses, we teach people how to argue and persuade. So they can be, have the similar types of skills as a native speaker would, or that you have in your own language. So I have a lot of interest. I've done a lot of traveling. I've lived abroad. And one context within to teach this, obviously, are controversial topics. Um, which people get really passionate about. And I'm not even going to list too many of them because I'm sure that you can imagine, what are people talking about? Where are people really polarized and why? So, you think about, elections or religion. I mean, it's such a rich, there's just so much rich content out there to build your language skills. And one of the things that's very controversial in and has been in Spain is bullfighting. And so some would argue that bullfighting is, obviously cruel, and it has no place in society in this day and time. Other people would argue that it is such a, iconic part of Spanish culture, that for that very reason, for heritage, that it needs to be maintained. And if you see in Spanish society, there's so many things that reflect both of these attitudes. You'll see outside of, Las Ventas, in Madrid, a lot of tourists are there, right? They want to see a bullfight one time, and they have a whole um program to encourage young people to become bullfighters. That's sponsored. It's very cheap to go to these schools of, they call them tauromaquia. And they have a whole sort of touring schedule. So, they're in certain places in certain times of the year, and then they're in South America and in Mexico other times of the year. So there's definitely still, people go to these, and then there are even parts of Spain where it's outlawed. They like Barcelona, they don't have it. So I think they might have something called I think it's in Catalan that torebus. I'm not quite sure what it's called, but it's, the bull, they do kind of, spar with the bull, but the bull isn't hurt. They don't suffer any pain. So there's an example of a, kind of a well-known thing that people would argue about. People have really strong feelings one way or the other. Very few people are indifferent about it. So in order to do this, I've collected some interviews with people about bullfighting over the years. And I've shared the logistics of it, etc. And I've had people who, read my blog, read my, videos, really, really, really upset about it. And I do want to just say, I'm not promoting it. They say I'm promoting it. I'm not promoting it. It's one of those things that, we're going to want to teach this kind of argumentation. Okay, here's this part of culture. Here are the different pieces of it. And then here are the facts, right? Here's another set of facts. So just imagine that situation, right? So let's say, okay, the question is, do you support bullfighting? Okay, this is Spanish class. And so what you would do is, actually I would provide, and you'll do this for yourself, but I provide materials. So I've interviewed native Spanish speakers from all over the world, and I've asked them what they thought of it. I've also created some videos explaining the logistics of it, right? This happens, and then that happens, and then that happens, and then this happens after, etc., right? So they understand the logistics and see what goes into it. Watch it, a short one perhaps, right? There, or listen to somebody talk about it. And you would say yes or no, see or no, and you would read about it, you would listen, you would take these materials. Maybe an interview I would present from, people in Catalonia who are against this, or about an article about the law that was passed prohibiting it. And as the student, you would list the reasons why or the reasons why not. And you get to use those sources to help you develop your thoughts, your arguments, right? And so it's a very natural language experience that you can do completely on your own. So you're listening, you're reading, you're speaking, you're writing, and all the while, and you're digging deep into these sources about this topic and becoming really well informed. So you can do this if you think of your target language. You can do this with anything that would be controversial. Um, think about anything that people have strong feelings about. And I'm thinking right now about, themes that affect the whole world, right? What are people's attitudes about things that have affected what we've been through for the past few years? What are attitudes in these different countries? And then that gives you a starting point. Do people believe in yes, no, right? All the things that have happened in the past couple of years, if you think about it, what does your target language society think of, topic X, right? About this, this law or that law or this mandate or this requirement or whatever. And you can do some research. There's going to be videos, there's going to be news reports about it in the target language. There's going to be articles written about it. Do you agree or not? Or what do other people think, right? If you, let's say that you are researching what French people think of, and then we'll just say, topic X. It could be something that's personally really interesting to you as well. So, what do they think of plant-based diets, veganism, right? You name it. environmental issues, right? There's so many issues. We're so connected, right? Globally, and we can communicate so fast. What do they think about it? Dividing up your reasons and then writing a reaction in your journal. And what you'll find also is that as you're working to persuade, you're going to be looking up a lot of chunks and words and advanced grammatical structures that are going to help you hit that high level. So the example that I shared is bullfighting, right? This is why I have materials about bullfighting, interviews about bullfighting. What do people think, right? If you looked in any of those materials or interviews, you'll find people, what do they think of it, right? People have really varied opinions on it. But so think of a topic like that, right? What would people have strong feelings and opinions about? And that's a great starting point. Ask yourself a question or ask other people a question, and then provide reasons why something could be supported and why not. And then after you've dug into that, write out your argument. And you'll find that a lot of those chunks that you'll use to do that task, you'll be able to use in other contexts. So it's a great exercise to develop advanced level language. So before we leave this series, I wanted to share with you, I have a book of 400 plus prompts to build and assess fluency in any language. I call it the 5-week language learning workbook. If you're very advanced and very fluent, you might just work through this in 5 weeks. If you're not, it's going to take you a while, which is great because it's going to keep building your skills. So it's going to give you prompts, some very simple. It starts very simple and they get very complex, similar to what we just talked about, the exercise that we just talked about here. So I'll link that for you below. Until next time.